Welcome back, episode 99 of the Grouchy Brainstorm. I'm Mike, and I'm joined today by my lovely co-host, Matt.
Lovely. I don't know if that's I think you're being generous.
Well,
Michael.
you know, I just, whatever's written on the wall when I go in the bathroom at the club, that's what I go with, man.
I got you.
So, for a good time called lovely Matt.
Why did I know we were going there?
What you been up to, Matt?
Man, just enjoying the sunny day we had today. After
That's beautiful.
2 weeks of rain and fake ice over here. I know everybody else got it, but it was just a pretty day today, man.
Yeah, it was. Man, it's real windy over where I'm at. Like just horribly windy.
It's flat in Dallas, isn't it? Like it's pretty flat.
Much, yeah. And my apartment is on the third floor, so it seems like the wind's just even more constant up there. You can hear it like at night. You sit on the couch and it's just loud. So
Bobby, we went out to eat the other night at Monzon's, and we were sitting there eating, and he goes, "How do you even know about this place?" I said, "I'll tell you why, because Mike used to live right across the street." And I said he would order food. He goes, "Oh, okay." I said, "That's how I found out about it."
The place is good.
Oh, it is good.
Yeah.
I got Lacey's hooked on it now. So.
Man, you go in there for like lunch or something, and man, the place is packed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we went the other night. They had a bunch of people celebrating stuff and all that, birthdays and stuff, and we went and had dinner with a big group of them, and it was nice, but it was jammed out, man. It's always jammed out, you know.
Yeah,
so
very, very good place to eat. So we are coming up on episode 100.
Yes, sir.
And I did not get the opportunity to do what I wanted to do to film the video. Weather would not permit. So still going to do something special for episode 100, but it probably will not air for 2 weeks after this episode that is coming out.
It's still going to be cool, though.
Yeah, we'll have episode 99 and then maybe a bonus episode in the middle and then the legitimate official episode 100. Or maybe we'll do like 100.1. I don't know. I'll figure all that out. So, but I just did not get to do what I wanted to do for episode 100, and that's okay. I have done a lot of research on the first 100, as the book calls it, and very little documented people in that first 100. But there is some really good sober and non-sober people that helped establish Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah. And that's I think it may have been you that suggested I read the early book of them starting it and the whole deal, Pass It On.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that was you that recommended that a few years ago. And man, if you haven't ever read that, that's really good. I have not read the other ones yet, but I really enjoyed it. And Bill, man, he's kind of a
you get to kind of know Bill when you read that book. You get to know his personality, and you come into AA, and it's like you see the pictures on the wall, and people go, "That's Bill Wilson, that's Dr. Bob," and you kind of get a vibe from reading that book that Bill Wilson was more of a promoter, a pusher.
He was more of the free spirit, I think, but Dr. Bob was more the analytical, a little more. A
little more conservative.
Yeah. Like, hey, Bill, we got to do it this way if you want to do it. Bill's just like, we'll just do it.
Let's hold back just a little bit and see what happens. And if we do this, then this might happen. And that really changed the trajectory. And it also led to a lot of the traditions that we have. Some were taken from mistakes we made as a group, and then some were taken from mistakes other groups had made that ultimately led to their non-existence or their slow demise, because I don't think any of them just went away suddenly, but in history they did. But in all actuality, they didn't. So,
and I'll tell you too, and not knowing this is the alcoholic self-absorption of myself. I didn't realize Lois's involvement with Al-Anon in that story, and that's who I came away the most impressed with out of the whole book, because I'm like, Bill's wheeling and dealing and running all over, and they're sleeping on the side of the road with his motorcycle, and I'm like. I've been around women, and they're not too thrilled about that kind of crap, They put up she just kept chugging,
Yeah, she put up with a lot, and that's a testament to her and her love, her faith, and possibly seeing some kind of future with this guy that,
and being able to discern there's two different people there. There's a sick one, and then there's one that had the potential to do better,
I'm glad you said that. I heard an interview the other day, and I don't remember who was interviewing this person, but he's a very famous person, and we'll just say his name is Keith Yu. How about that? Keith Yu. And he's a musician, and his father was an alcoholic. And I believe he was talking about his father, and he said that you had to be able to look at the person, and you had to be able to look at the addict and see the two different things. The person was loving and caring, but the addict wasn't. And the substance is what separated the two personalities.
The ism is, Al-Anon people are going to kill me on this. I've only been to like 5 meetings, so I'm an expert. Al-Anon. That goes without saying. But yeah, being able to separate that ism of that thinking, that way of thinking and behavior, it's amazing to me. And I love all my recovery people, but I'm telling you, it's awesome to see. I usually, and Mike's been around too. When you see the family support of people and folks come in, you see a lot of success with those kind of people. I don't know what the percentage is, but yeah, that's amazing to me. Sometimes more than the person getting sober is the people around them, with knowing my background and what I caused with everybody, and that's pretty awesome to see.
Absolutely. Well, before we get started, I do have a couple of announcements.
Lay it on us.
Come on.
The world famous Wyatt W.
I heard this. I wasn't going to say nothing, but
celebrated 7 years of recovery the other day. The legend.
Chip off the old block.
Oh, I tell you, history shut down when this kid got sober, man.
Man, look, that dude, here's what's so funny, man. I come in and you're sitting in your chair all the time. You go to Mandeville, and normally in the summer, I'm out for a little while. I'm just not around that much. I come back in, Wyatt's sitting in your chair like a 20-something year younger version of you. I'm like, what'd they do to Mike? Like, what steps is he doing now?
And in case you didn't know, that is my son.
Yeah, dude.
A good dude. And we're, when we get off talking about this subject, I'm going to bring that up, because that was something that was really tough to go through with him. Mm-hmm. And I look at him now, 7 years down the line, he is 27 years old. Wow. He has 2 children. He's married. He lives in a house in Midlothian, Texas. He has a full-time job, and he's a man now. Mm-hmm. He's a man. I still think of him as my little boy, no matter what. I don't give a damn what he thinks. He's still my little boy. But to the world, he is a man.
Yeah.
And 7 years, man, that is just.
And to do that at what, 20? He was 20?
He was 20 when he got sober.
So, I mean, that's phenomenal, man. I wasn't even getting cranking good when I was 20. If you'd have told me, hey, man, we're not, I'd have been like, you have lost your mind.
Well, Matt, I don't know where I was the day you got sober. And I don't know where I was the day a lot of people get sober, but I'm going to tell you, the day that cat got sober,
you knew
I know exactly where I was.
I understand.
Because he did not go down easy.
Well, hey, that's
according to the Bossier Sheriff's Department.
But he got his money's worth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that sometimes that's a blessing in disguise to, I think maybe he realized, like all of us do, there's a point. He's just smarter than I am. I went, I can do better than this. I can mess it up way worse than, and he said, hey, enough's enough,
Yeah, well, so, I mean, the state of Louisiana said enough's enough, and Caddo Parish, or the Bossier Parish,
they like to help when they can.
Sheriff's Department said enough is enough, and, I think he did end up going to a 90-day rehab, and in that 90-day rehab, he had a child. Well, he didn't have it. His wife had a baby. And my grandson, Zeke, was born while Wyatt was in rehab. And I think the combination of the events that led to his recovery and this child being born made a big, and of course the 90 days of rehab, and then the follow-up with Alcoholics Anonymous and all of the meetings and the steps and getting a sponsor and all those things that very uncomfortable for a lot of folks, especially him. And kind of like me, professional introvert, you know, and then having to go to these things.
But he did those things. I mean, I know when you were in Mandeville, I saw him a lot. That was probably the most I saw him was right around that time.
Yeah.
And every day, you know, just
I think
did his
he
thing.
was 18 months sober when he moved down to, he actually moved to Covington, Louisiana to be close to me and closer to his new found career.
Well, I remember when I first met him, he was sober about 6 or 8 months longer than me. And I was like, damn, he's like 10, you know, when did he quit drinking? 3? You know, I don't know.
He looked a lot younger
He's
back
a young,
then.
young guy.
But, you know, his recovery has taken him from Bossier City, Louisiana, to he lived in Covington, Louisiana, right outside of New Orleans, and then he moved back up to Bossier City, Louisiana, and now he's in Midlothian, Texas, which is right outside of Dallas. And I'm in Dallas, Fort Worth area, so. But his recovery has taken him on a separate journey, believe it or not. And I think maybe the comfort of having his dad close to him has brought him up there. But man, without his recovery, he would not be anywhere near that.
Yeah.
And I look at it as a grandfather and a father, but, you know, the day he got in all that trouble and had to go to rehab, and his son was on the way, but hasn't been born yet now, right? And then we look at it now, and through all of the difficulties with the diabetes and diabetes and all diabetes,
Wilford.
all of those things, that kid needed a sober dad.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna tell you, I was out on working in the yard with him. We were working on my Range Rover, and his wife called, and he had her on speakerphone, and she was asking him how many units of insulin to give, you know, my grandson. And I was thinking, what the hell? Who asked his kid? You know, but he's an expert. He loves that boy. He loves his daughter too, but, you know, she's still so small and young. We don't get a lot of.
But, you know, too, and like, that's so cool about Wyatt. And I always think about my kind of comparison. He's not my son or any of that stuff. He's my buddy. But Ben S. has been on here a bunch of times. We happen to be working together. Weren't friends. Didn't really, I mean, we just work associates. He kept getting in trouble, and he was 25, 24, drinking, wrecking his truck, police, all those things that we do. And he mentioned to me one day, you know, I don't know if I'm, you know, you're old. You know, I told him, I said, I'm whatever I was, 3 years or something. He's like, right. Yeah, but you had your run. You know what I mean? And I looked at him and I said, yeah, you can be a dumbass like me, and you can just keep rocking and ruin your, you know, everything you've got ahead of you. Or you could get a hold of this and go on with your life. And I said, that's up to you. I mean, you can, man. You can get more DUIs. They'll let you stay in jail again. I promise.
Yeah, they will.
All that crap. And something clicked with that conversation, and he thankfully has reached it. Man, and I'm telling you now, he's got a big boy job, and he's doing good, and they promoted him, and man, he's just doing what he wants to do,
and
man.
He does. He has a big boy job, and I'm going to tell you something about that cat too. He's talented. He has a lot of talent when it comes to machinery and working on machinery. And all that talent was going nowhere while he was still in his active addiction, whatever that may be. And I think his was alcohol.
I'll tell a cool story. Our boss there, when Ben got in the program and he started doing his thing, and he was running amok, you know, and he'll admit that. He's told it on this podcast, so I'm not. But it was kind of cool. He got in, he got a sponsor, he did all these kind of things, and he was so mad about losing the job he had. He got fired and all this kind of stuff. And I walked in one day, and the guy that was our boss back then walked up to me. He said, man, I had the weirdest deal happen today. And I said, what was that? And he said, Ben came in here. And I said, he came in here? And he goes, yeah. And he made an amends with me. And it was just a look on his face, and I just started smiling. I said, really? And he goes, yeah. And I said, there's why he's getting better right there. And just accepting his own crap and moving on with it. So,
and you could hear the growth in the podcast he did. You know?
And I will say this about him all the time. He always talks good about me, and I ain't never done anything good except point him toward the Koala Club. That's all I've ever done with that guy, just like everybody's done for me. But that guy right there, I have had people call in the rain in the middle of the night with a blown out tire lady in this program. 11 o'clock at night, Ben gets on 220 and figures it out. That's the dude you call on that kind of stuff. And he never says nothing about it. Just a good guy. So I'm pretty proud of him too. But and Wyatt,
proud of his recovery, proud of his family, and he gives back to any chance he gets. You know, another announcement, Matt, I wanted to make was that we are now in Singapore and
I was waiting on that one.
Singapore and South Africa.
Wow.
Yeah, two more countries added to the litany of. I think we're in 29 countries now.
Wow.
That is, I don't know how many countries there are, but eventually we'll take over the world. We're in 29 countries and we have 165 followers. I can't figure out.
We're spread out. You know what I mean? Our people are spread out.
Yeah, hit that follow button if you're not following us. You can unfollow us later. But
yeah. You know, that's cool though. We have a listener, Monica. She's in Switzerland. We're gonna have her come on pretty soon and tell her story. We have some other good stuff coming up, but she says and she speaks English, of course, but with our accent, she said that she has to listen with the subtitles or whatever on, and but she said her kids understand us perfectly, but she doesn't. So that's how she listens to it. But
I wonder do they have a different language or
I think German.
I don't know.
Because I think it's German and English. I think she speaks both. But
is there writing different, or probably German and English then?
Yeah.
You know, it's like I often wonder, like
I barely speak English.
Well, I speak several languages. I speak English. I speak Australian. I speak British. Irish, you know, I can
those are accents.
I speak all of them, and I think they all have 26 letters in their alphabets, and the phrases are a little different, you know. So across the pond, they call a cookie a
my
biscuit.
business. In my business, you work with a lot of Spanish people, South America, Mexico, that kind of thing, and those are funny to get together and kind of compare languages and what words are and what they mean and different things, you know. But I'm horrible at Spanish, but you know they'll testify to that. So.
Well, I have taken several years of Spanish, high school, couple years, college, the little bit that I went, couple years, and then aftermarket Spanish on one of the apps or whatever every night for a long time, and I still can barely order. You know, I can barely order at a restaurant. You know, I can't go in and. You know, it's just so,
like the AutoZone of Spanish.
Yeah, it's not an OEM Spanish.
Can I get the cheap Spanish, please?
Let me get the cheap Spanish. You know, through my recovery, all of the years that I've been sober, I have had quite a bit of sponsees, right? People that I work with, and every single time. It seems that not every single time, I probably shouldn't have said that, but a lot of the time, it seems like these guys, especially in that first 6 months, have a lot of obstacles in their sobriety or in their recovery. They think, right? The biggest obstacle is between our ears.
Sure.
What Bobby say? Something about, what's the longest?
8 inches.
What's the,
longest
shot in golf before you get off.
Yeah.
Don't start bragging. but the distance, I didn't even know it was 8 inches between my ears, to be quite honest with you. But, most of that is in that area in between our ears, the obstacles in recovery. And then sometimes there are legitimate obstacles, right? But we did take the oath, so to speak, in quotation marks, that we would go to any length to get it. And I've noticed that those obstacles go away over the course of time. Those things that get in our way of our recovery go away over the course of time. And I don't mean like if you think your spouse is an obstacle, then they go away. I don't mean it like that. I mean, whatever was causing that to be an obstacle actually takes a separate route. It goes its own way. It goes another way. So have you had, in your experience, any obstacles that came along in your recovery?
Expectations. That's been the biggest. That's been the biggest, and ego.
Ego's a good one.
But it goes. All that goes back to in between your ears, and you know, I went to treatment and I'd been in an industry for a long time in the same business, and I got out and couldn't get a job where I thought I was supposed to be. You know, I've got 10, 12 years experience and I'm ready to work, and now I'm clean and sober. And guess what? Nobody cared. You know, the world does not care. And, I went in a place and had to ask the man, I said, I tell you what, he said, I'm not hiring nobody. And, he said, you got, I can't believe you got all this stuff and you're looking for a job. And, I said, man, I'll work the first week for free. We get to Friday. You don't like how I work. You just run me off. No harm, no foul. We'll shake hands, and that's it. That's how I ended up having to humble myself down enough to go, I'll take anything you got, and go from there. And that ego thing, I think, and working with other guys too, I think we all see it. If you've been around and you get guys and they're like, oh man, I just got out of jail, then rehab, then, you know, and they're like, 2 months in, a month in, and they're going, wait a minute, I don't have a girlfriend. I don't have this. I don't have that. I'm taking the bus to work. And it's that expectation of they should somehow be, I don't know, like they think that, they ought to be picked up in a chauffeured limousine and driven to their new mansion. You know, when they get out of treatment, it's like, no, man, this is where we start to clean up the mess and acquire a little bit of that humility to get back on our feet and learn to let God do what he does instead of us trying to control it. And you know, it's pretty humbling. There's a lot of humbling things in sobriety, and especially in early sobriety, that, you know, I think a lot of people, that's probably the biggest thing I hear is, I should be, why am I doing this? That's always that phrase of, and I'm like, that stuff kills you, because you're in your head, grandiose thinking.
Right.
And, you know, you're just setting yourself up for failure. And, you know, I had to take it as simple as, I need a job. I got a job. That's it.
Yeah.
It was no, I need a job where I'm the dang manager and I'm running the place, or, you know, what did Cousin Eddie say? He's holding out for a management position he had worked in 8 years, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's our attitude though, man.
I think his wife was telling the other wife, you know, that he was holding out for a management.
Yeah. She goes, Eddie hasn't worked in a while, you know? Yeah, he ain't going to either with that attitude, you know? I wouldn't hire the guy.
Man, it was those shoes that got him.
Real nice, you know? They told Clark. But, hey, you know, that kills. You know, we're talking about guys here, and guys with the ego and all this stuff. You know, the humbling yourself and going, hey man, and then having a sponsor, going to another man. That was the first time in my life I ever went to another man and went, okay, I don't know what I'm doing here. What are we doing? And how should I handle this situation or that situation? And actually listening to them and going, ooh, I don't like that. That pushes my buttons or whatever it might be. Yeah, I don't like it because that ain't in my nature to do it the correct way, you know? And I my track record spoke for itself. So, but I had to learn to pray and go, hey man, I ain't got this figured out. I'm trying to move forward here, and I got to do something different. And, right. And that's been the biggest thing I've seen. And for me and for most guys getting out of treatment, and I worked in treatment centers, and guys are getting ready to get out, and I'd always go, what are you going to do now? And they go, oh man, I'm going to see my girl, and then I'm doing this, I'm going to eat a steak, and I'm going, you going to go to a meeting? Well, what? I said, man, I would head straight to a place and sit through about 3 of them if I could in a row. Yeah. Your mind is not on, you're ready to get back in life and I've had oil field guy got up and talked to me after a meeting at a treatment center one night. And he said, look, man, I got a problem with meth. I've lost my home, my wife, my kids, my 4-wheelers, my guns, my truck. And he said, I still got the job because I came to treatment. And he said, I need to know, how do I get those things back? Wife, kid, and I said, how about you just do what you're doing right now? Like, there's a way to get them back, but you don't walk out of here and go, oh, okay, I didn't do meth today. Here comes my guns back. Here comes my 4-wheeler.
Well, if his wife took the kids and his wife took the guns, he really only needs to get one thing back.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably his brain.
Yeah. And that's the whole attitude, though, is like, hey, I'm 30 days clean now. I'm fixing to walk out this rehab. Everything that I did good or that I think I need it should be laid on me.
Yeah.
You know,
job or no job, wife or no wife.
Yeah.
You can get sober, and that is the truth. So, you know, I will tell you the time and through this episode here, I'm probably going to tell a few stories, but there was I got out of rehab and I had been there for a couple weeks, and I went back to my place and there was no alcohol there. There was nobody there. And I really and truly did not want to go to the Koala Club. But I had made a friend in rehab, and his name was Jared. I don't know his last name, but I had made a friend in there, and I had no intentions of going to the Koala Club. I mean, I'd play on my phone and look for meetings anywhere but the Koala Club. I just did not want to go there. I didn't like my very first experience, 11 years before I went. And this cat calls me and he says, or he texts me or calls me, but I don't remember which one. And he says, hey man, are you going to go to a meeting today? And I lied. And I said, yeah. And he said, you want to ride with me? And I was like, yeah, I'll ride with you. I think this is how it happened.
I like to travel alone.
I was like, yeah, I'll ride with you. And I thought, man, it's going to be a lot easier having somebody go with me. And he came by and picked me up and took me to the Koala Club. I think that's how that happened. And I ended up at my real very first meeting because this cat did it. Mm-hmm. And he was headstrong on it. And I was scared. I did not want to drink again, but I did not want to go to AA. So he came and picked me up every day for probably the first week and brought me over there. And I think he ended up picking a 90-day chip up, and then he was in the service. And I think he had to go to another rehab off in San Antonio after that. So his time was up as far as the free time between Brentwood and San Antonio. So he went off to San Antonio, and it let me, I was going to the club by myself, obviously, then back and forth every day. But I don't know if that cat hadn't have called me that day. It's just one of the more of those God doing for me what I couldn't do for myself, because he went to San Antonio and I have not heard or seen from him since. And in my head, I can't picture what he even looks like anymore.
It's funny on that, I got out and didn't have a vehicle. My dad calls me. He's like, hey, I got a free car. Bro, if somebody gives you a free car, you can picture in your head. And I went from two businesses I was in where you bought new company trucks every 2 years and you're riding in the nicest trucks they got and all this stuff. And all of a sudden I got this little Buick something and went no
Skylark.
windows. Yeah, no windows. Man, it was horrible. I mean, I felt like Joe Dirt, but you know what? I kind of was Joe Dirt. So
what a good movie.
Oh yeah. But but that thing lasted almost 2 years. And I could put $10 in gas or whatever in it and drive for a week and a half. And I had no money, man. Do you know how handy that was and nobody would ride with me, which ended up being a blessing too. I got a lot of quiet time. Nobody wanted to get in that car. So, hey, but it's funny. You ride down the road and you go, oh, well, I'm riding around this sobriety thing's really working out,
Hey,
and
free car.
Now I look back and I go, thank God, man. Like, thank God,
Things just tend to be, if you do what you're supposed to do, things do tend to work out. Mm-hmm. They just do. And after we stay in AA for a while, we learn a lot about acceptance. And once we learn a lot about acceptance, things still tend to work out. They just might not work out the way we want them. Yeah. And they come, and that comes in a whole different way.
Yeah.
So, those little miracles don't stop happening that happened in that first 6 months or year. It's just maybe we stop paying so much attention to the little miracles, but they're still there, and they're still there for me. Every day, those little miracles are still there for me.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're there for anyone, right? God's grace is for everybody. It's just, I got sober by the grace of God, but everybody has that grace, no matter what we do with that grace.
I'm talking about acceptance, and I use that with my son. So Landry loves basketball. He's got on the middle school team. He's fired up. He played a little bit early in the season coming off the bench. They started district this week. And I told him, he hadn't played a lot anyway, and he's upset. I can't get in the game. I want to get in the game. I want to do this. And I said, but you don't control who goes in the game. All you control is how you play. And I texted him last night before the game, and I said, important things tonight. Be a good teammate. Be good for your coach. Good attitude. That's all you can do. And if you get in the game, hustle. If you don't, be a good teammate. Do what you can do. And it's fun working on stuff like that with my son or my kids that I learned in Alcoholics Anonymous, And he's learning acceptance. He has no idea about alcohol, but he did last night, man. He was pissed the first few games of the year, and he was like, he did great. And I told him that after the game. I said, that's how you need to act, and it's not always about you, the individual, and you're on a team, and you just be there and be a good teammate, whatever that entails. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, in life lessons we can teach our children when they're still growing up that we learn from AA that we didn't catch whenever we were growing up.
Yeah, I'd have been.
So my first sponsor, a guy named Dale, right, and he's long gone. He passed away several years ago, back in, I think, 2014. So he's been gone 11 years now. But my very first sponsor, one of the things he told me to do, and I got a sponsor after about 2 weeks in AA, right? Maybe less. So if you're one of those folks that hang on every word, I'm just trying to go by memory, right? Hindsight's 50-50. So, but about 2 weeks into recovery, I got Dale, and Dale was my sponsor, and he got me in that back room. And one of the first things Dale told me was I needed to go to 90 meetings in 90 days. And I was just like, man, there's no way.
End of the world, man.
I have this grueling schedule, and for anybody that knows me, well, now I kind of make my own schedule, but I really do have a grueling schedule. I mean, it's pretty brutal, and I still manage to make it over here at least once a week to record. But he said, don't think about the problem. You need to be thinking about the solution. Well, this was way before I heard all the problem solution crap that we talk about in AA, right? So he said every day, you're going to need to live your life one day at a time. So when you wake up in the morning, you need to say your prayers or meditate or do whatever you do. And then you need to say whether or not I'm going to go to a meeting today and figure out how you're going to get to that meeting. He never specifically said this meeting or the 5:30. He said a meeting. You need to make sure you go to a meeting. And you can't go to 3 in one day and count that as 90 and 90 days.
I tried that one too.
Yeah, well, a lot of people have, But, so I was broke down enough to take this guy's advice. And that was probably the first obstacle I thought was coming along in sobriety. And so I did. And lo and behold, I went 2 years without missing a meeting. My first 2 years, I did not miss a meeting every day. So more than 90 and 90, 200 and 200, somewhere in that neighborhood was where I went. That was one of my very first obstacles that I thought was going to be in my sobriety, right? And then another obstacle was the family starts to come back and things start to come back, and you're like, well, I remember thinking, okay, well, I can miss today because, and somewhere along the line, I was listening, like right then at that moment, I was driving down the road and I was probably listening to a speaker tape or something. And a guy came on the speaker tape and he said, if you miss one meeting, it's not that bad, but it makes missing the next meeting a lot easier.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, son of a bitch, he is talking to me. How
talking to all those.
Well, I was a lot selfish back then. Everything was about me. But he was talking to me. And so that was, right there in the beginning of sobriety. One thing I do want to talk about real quick is I have failed to mention the fact that Jill is not even here today.
I don't know if the listeners ever noticed this, but we do these on Friday. When we do, Jill's out. I mean, she's like no-show Jill, man. She gets her check and she's out of here, like a lot of my grass cutting buddies. They just you get the money and they're gone. So no, she's under the weather again. And so Mike and I are braving this alone without Jill tonight. So.
And I can't believe we just completely forgot about that. And I also forgot to mention this, that Larry L. actually sent us an email, and I'm going to read it right quick as soon as I can find it. he sent us an email to several email addresses, and it was basically congratulating us on our 100th episode, and I should have had it pulled up, and I didn't have it pulled up, and now I can't find it. So eventually I'll be able to find it. But Larry sent us a very nice email from him and Judy congratulating us, and then he sent me a text, and I don't remember what I was in the middle of. I might have been moving from one city to the next whenever he sent the text, but it was just Judy sent it, letting me know that they had sent us a letter. And I probably need to respond to that pretty soon, because that's just how I am when it comes to certain things. I just don't jump right on it, and I probably should. But
I love Larry and Judy, and Miss Judy will hit me up on Instagram. She'll be like, just random, hey, got an idea for a show.
Yeah.
I'm like, give it to me. So
Larry, I mean, seriously,
man.
she probably should be our publicist.
Yes. I'm no doubt about that. As long as she's willing to work for free, we could do it, So the budget is
it might be worse
slim.
than free. She may have to pay us
Yeah,
to do it.
yeah.
But I pretty much guarantee she could get our stuff out that we want out. You know what I mean?
Oh, I guarantee you. So
she's a hoot, and so is Larry, and I do appreciate the email that I'm going to find here shortly. But those guys, that's another thing that could be an obstacle in sobriety is a relationship.
sure.
It can be an obstacle, especially early on. And man, we're not here to preach. We're not here to give advice, but I can tell you that I've seen a set number of people over the years, get in and find recovery and find a relationship in recovery.
Fall in love.
Fall in love and then they go missing. And,
Yeah.
And some of them, the story ends well or hasn't ended yet. And some of them, the story doesn't end too well.
I don't think I'm just, and this is totally just me observation of 6 years in this program and treatment centers and all that good stuff. I don't think the dang percentages are real good on relationships and early recovery. I can't imagine that there's that many that are successful. I mean, I know there's some, we've had some folks on here that did well, but I mean, overall, it can't be that great.
You mean the percentages?
Yeah, like percentages that actually make it and become, have a good relationship or whatever it might be. But
and then if you're in the same group, you gotta find another group, or if something happens in said relationship, or and the worst thing that can come out of it is you end a really good friendship, and that can take a while to mend. But Larry writes, I found his letter, by the way. He writes, "Congratulations, Mike, Matt, and Jill, for your 100th episode of The Grouch and the Brainstorm. Y'all have inspired so many people around the world to pursue sobriety and serenity. We appreciate y'all so much and all who participate in spreading the message. We hope you will continue to be able to grow and reach more each day. Thank you so very much for your sacrifice of time and money to help others. We love you. Prayers, Larry and Judy." Had a hard time reading it, Matt. I got these new glasses, and these are cool glasses, dude. They take pictures. They make videos. I can listen. Yeah, I can answer my phone on my glasses.
Could I go fishing in them and make fishing videos?
You can make fishing videos, man.
Dude, I need a pair.
Yeah.
But I probably can't.
They're called Meta glasses. And
Meta meaning a lot of dollar signs.
they were
Is
not.
there a comma in there?
Well, I will say this before it sounds like I'm getting a little off topic.
Yeah,
but once a year I get glasses through my insurance, and my insurance pays 50%.
Okay.
And so they were a little pricey, even with
Yeah.
the 50%. But I figured, why not? I'm gonna go. So now I can talk on my phone and my glasses without wearing an earbud or
awesome,
headphones
man.
or anything. Yeah, it's
awesome.
pretty. But they're hurting my ears right now with these headphones on too. So. But I was sitting here because they're actually big enough to where I can use the bifocal, the part on the bottom, to where I read like that, And so,
but they got a camera.
Yeah, camera. Yeah, they have a camera, and then the app that comes with it goes straight to an app, and I can post that straight to Instagram if I want to.
Oh wow!
Or any social media platform, but the only one I have would be Instagram. So, really cool, really cool.
That is cool.
Yeah,
that is cool.
Yeah, they just you can get them in sunglass or regular glass or whatever, and but the only drawback is the battery only lasts like 4 hours. if you constantly use them, if you're always on the phone or always making videos or taking pictures. But yeah, my son wants some for when we ride the motorcycles or whenever he's fishing.
Yeah. Fishing would be fun to have.
Yeah, because you can actually video the whole.
I could film myself with hours and hours of not catching anything.
Now, after 4 hours, you can still see out of them. You just don't. You don't.
Just not gonna have any film.
Just regular glasses. Not gonna have any film. Remember that when cameras had film?
Man, look, I miss a lot of old things. I just do.
Yeah,
miss some of the old stuff.
I remember whenever I got married the first time, and they had all these little cameras, like I think they were called disposable cameras, on every table, so that people could take pictures, of us. How arrogant is that? We gave you a camera so you could take a picture.
Everyone,
every single.
Get to it.
Let's see how long this marriage lasts. Y'all take a picture so we'll don't forget.
They had a lady at the restaurant the other night was taking pictures with a Polaroid with a little mini picture on it.
They have
that
mini,
was cool.
Yeah, they do have mini Polaroids out now. So, but that those obstacles in my recovery have came few and far between. But I think the biggest obstacle, and I hate to call it an obstacle, it turned into a miracle. But I remember all of the things that I was going through with my son. And mentally, it broke me down. It just, it was a really rough few years, because anybody out there who knows me and my son, we are like one person. Like, if I'm not here recording,
I always called him Mini Mike when we were in Mandeville.
Man, we are everywhere together, and we have traveled all over the place together, and we've just like back at home. Sunday, we're going to go riding the motorcycles together. We're going to ride down to Waco and check things out in Waco.
New band down there. David Koresh is the lead singer.
I don't think that's going to be happening. But we're going to ride down to Waco. It's about an hour from his house, and just to give us something to do. But we're always working on vehicles, or always together. And so it wasn't like that. And his addiction caused us to not be like that. And as a father and an alcoholic, I seen so much that one day this is how things are going to be. One day this is how things are going to be. But every bit of his actions told me that it's never going to be like that.
How sober were you when he started getting sober?
I was 6 years sober.
So
yeah.
So it probably helped you some watching him try to go through it, because like a sponsee almost, but on steroids.
I tell you, him doing that, first off, it's real easy to label someone alcoholic addict, and especially whenever you're in recovery and it's one of your kids. Hey, you need to go to a meeting, and you need. But truth is, I don't know if he's an alcoholic or an addict. I just know that what he's doing is
destructive.
Is very destructive, and it's destroying my insides. And man, I'm gonna tell you a real personal story, and I don't talk about it very often, but there was a time where I was 6 years sober, and I mean, it was like something different every day that was going on with this kid, right? And every day I was just in my head trying to figure it out. I mean, this is part of, not practicing my program the way I should. This is me doing what I shouldn't do. But every day in my head, I was trying to figure out how to help him and solve his problem. What I was doing was actually making his problem worse because of the financial contribution to take care of this and take care of that. And then, the whole, tough love, but I couldn't do the tough thing very well. It just wasn't working for me. And one day, I don't remember how far behind his getting sober this was, but it wasn't too far, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, right? But I was living in West Monroe, Louisiana, and I was driving back from the Koala Club. Actually, I went to a 5:30 meeting, and his mom called me, and one more thing, something else had happened, and it wasn't a good one. And I remember I was driving down the road. I was looking out the front window, And I told myself, you know, I'm not going to let this kid destroy his life. I can't just sit back and watch it. You know, he's my son and I love him and he's part of me. And if this is how it's going to be, then I'm going to pull off the road and I'm going to go to a liquor store and I'm going to get a half gallon of vodka. And I'm going to go back and me and him will just get drunk together and ruin our lives together because I'm not going to let him do this by himself. And I really entertained that thought way too long. And you know I'm alcoholic because I said half gallon. You know, so I wasn't.
You're very specific.
It was. I was going to buy a half gallon, maybe two.
Hey, not to interrupt the story, but did you go in the store across the street?
Not today, but I have been.
I've had a hell of a week, okay? I mean, like it's been a hell of a week. You think the devil don't have a sense of humor, bro? It got me to laughing. But I walk in the store. It's just a convenience store. And the guy, I don't even know what they are. Those little balls of alcohol, the little colored.
I know what you're talking about.
I don't know what they are. I've just seen them.
They're buzz
green
ball or something. Yeah.
They got a rep in there and he's pouring shots to try it for free. And I just walk in the door and there's this guy who goes, "Hey, you want a shot?" And I went, "No, I don't." And I just went and got my drink. But I was like, isn't that just the way things work?
And you know, there's no telling how many people a day I tell I'm sober, right? And still, I'll be like, today, for instance, just this day, I had to leave work at 2 to make it over here in time to record at 6, believe it or not. But the time of day I was leaving, you're not going to get out of Dallas till 3. And so, and I said, I'm going to Louisiana to record. And one of my coworkers said, "Oh, he's going to get his drink on," you know. And I like, no, I'm not. You know, I don't drink. You know, how many times have I? But I guess it's not important to everybody like it is to me.
I had I handle that pretty good. I just don't ever really, when it's a casual, somebody just doesn't know any better, I kind of just, hey, you know, I don't drink or whatever, no thank you, and I just go on as much as I can. But I had a weird one the other day. A dude, I was waiting at a car lot to pick somebody up, and I wasn't there for any business other than pick these people up. They were dropping their car off. And this guy walks out. You know how the car salesman, man, they're on you.
Oh,
you know?
Boom, yeah.
And he came out, and I was already holding up my hands. I was like, "Buddy, it ain't me. You don't even need to walk out here. Save your energy." "Hey, man, it's about beer 30, isn't it?" And I said, "No, yeah, something like that." And I said, "I'm not buying anything. I'm just picking somebody." "Okay, man." And he's still making conversation. He goes, "It's almost time, though." And like the 5th time, he brings up drinking. I wanted to slide him a card. You know, "Here's the Koala Club, buddy." But I looked at him finally, and he was trying to engage me in this talk about drinking. And I went, "Man, look, I'm done with drinking. I don't drink." And he said, "Oh, yeah, I get it, man. But once I get out of work, I'm ready to." And I said, "No, you don't understand. Like in my life, period. Like it's not a time of day that I don't drink. And I kind of had to literally go, "Hey, bro, like I had to go to rehab and shit. Like it was that big of a problem. Like I have a date, you know." And he was like, "Oh," and the look came over his face and off he went. So if you need to get rid of a car salesman, that's one way to do it. So he finally left when I gave him my sobriety date.
Oh,
so,
yeah. Well,
when you give him one of those, if you got a date, man, you had a problem, you know, so you can remember it.
Or like some of our guests, several dates. You know?
Yeah. Hey, I asked Ben one time after he's gotten sober a little bit. I said, "Hey, man, what's your sobriety date?" Because I couldn't remember when he came in, and he stopped and he was like, "Oh, hold on." And he was thinking back and he goes, "Wait, let me go check the police report." It was on the day. That's what I said, "You are a damn alcoholic,
That's a good way to establish it." But,
yeah.
But I was driving down a road and I entertained this thought, right? And I started crying. You know, I did, thinking about this, you know, this tragedy of life that was going on, right? And I was going to meetings every day. I was sponsoring guys. I was sharing. I was reading my book every day and saying my prayers. I was doing everything you're supposed to do. And I really and truly was about to pull over on the side of the road or pull off on the exit and turn around and head back this way. For those that don't know, West Monroe is about an hour and a half from where we're currently at, which is where my son was. But a former sponsee FaceTimed me, and at that same time, a former sponsee FaceTimed me, and he was in a bad situation. He was not in a good situation. Matter of fact, his phone didn't work, and he had connected to someone's Wi-Fi, and we talked. Him through whatever he was going through, and by the time I obviously I passed the exit and I kept going, and I talked to him about 35, 40 minutes, and I was about another 30 minutes from home. And I remember getting off the phone and going, thank God, thank God what is the chances of that? Someone calling, and that was just one of many, many miracles,
Sure.
that have happened in recovery, God moments,
That's too, is I think going back to the obstacles, we don't want to adopt this new lifestyle, and it does. It has to be a life change. But I'm surrounded by people in recovery, or really good people that know I'm in recovery, and know I mean pretty much everybody around me, if they know me at all, they know where I've been with things. And so there's no skirting around things. I mean, I'm surrounded by a good bunch, and I want to stay around that good bunch. I don't have any desire to branch out into anything. And but I think too that you go back to the 90 meetings in 90 days and this life-changing way of things we have to do. And like, I remember doing the 90 and 90, but then I liked it. At first I was like, and then I realized, man, this is like the only time I feel better the whole day. Like I'm struggling in every aspect of life except when I come in here and I realize there's people that have been right where I was at. They got through it. Here's how they got through it. And they hug me on the neck and they go, just bring your ass in here tomorrow. And I learned that, man, I felt better when I left there, and it gave me some positive, something to go on for that next day, and I needed it, and it wouldn't last long. About half the day, it wore off the next day. And I was like, yep, I got to get to the 5:30. So,
I'm with you on that.
But early on, you got to trust some folks that's been doing it a little while and listen to what they say and try. If you it always goes back to, if you want to do it, you're gonna figure out. And I was at the point to where I didn't like being sober early on. I didn't like it. I wasn't used to it. It was uncomfortable. Situations were uncomfortable, meeting people, all these things that you used to do with alcohol, you doing now sober, and it's awkward. But I knew I couldn't go back the way I was. That was just death. So I just made up my mind, hey, if this is going to suck, it's just going to have to suck, because I'm dead if I don't.
Yeah.
And when I got to that point to go, I'm just going to be miserable every day. That was the thought that came through my head. When I got to that point, everything was good from then. It just started building from there, and it couldn't be better today.
Yeah. And it's hard to imagine when you're early in recovery that it's ever going to be, but one thing it's not ever going to be is the way it was. That is not ever going to happen.
Sure.
They didn't promise me better, but they did promise me different. And that is the truth. So we talk about obstacles in recovery, and I have been married in sobriety. I have been divorced in sobriety. I've had 4 grandbabies born in sobriety, one of which has a lot of health problems right now. And he's over in my neck of the woods at Dallas Children's, getting treatment there so that he can come home for the first time ever. And he's 7 months old. And I have had my grandmother pass away while I was in sobriety. I've had cars break down. I've had major moves, several major moves. I've moved from Bossier, Louisiana, to down by New Orleans, Louisiana, back up to Minden, Louisiana, and then now I'm in Dallas area, DFW area. And all of these things have happened in recovery, So there's obstacles that have all been overcome, and they are all obstacles if I let them be. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the guy at work who figures out how to get around all the challenges that you have on the job, right? For a lot of people who don't, let's just say, manage whatever it is, right? They're not the overall of it. They don't see the rules you got to play by. Kind of like a professional football team. If you can go out there and kick the shit out of somebody, you're probably going to be able to get down the field pretty quick. Mm-hmm. But there's a rule. That's an obstacle, and we learn in sobriety, just like we do at work, just like we do in parenthood, just like play by the rules, and you can figure out a way to navigate through recovery. And I'm just living proof that you can navigate through these things.
And it's almost like I've seen guys struggle so bad, and they're in their head. You know, the old joke about the sponsee sitting at home, a week sober, and the sponsor calls him and he says, "What are you doing?" He says, "Nothing. I'm just sitting at home by myself watching TV." And the sponsor says, "Quick, get out. There's a killer in there." You know?
Yeah.
And like, you see these young guys, and I say young guys, and I mean early recovery guys. I forget their real age or whatever, but you see guys new in early recovery, and yeah, man, it is a dang struggle, and we've seen it, and you still experience struggles throughout that journey. And like, I've seen guys that I've just so bad wanted to go, man, if you can just hang in there for 6 months, this is going to change. Your whole outlook on things is going to change. But I can't do it for them. And, and I don't think you're doing your recovery a disservice by trying to cut those corners or trying to do things. Because that's where it's built, and you look back on it and go, hey man, I did my 90 and 90. When I have a sponsor, he go, well, I don't want to do this. And I go, well, I did.
Yeah.
No questions asked. I did it. And I'm going to tell you exactly how I did it. And I did everything I told you that I'm asking you to do. I did.
How many kids do you have?
I have 5.
And with you and Lacey, how many do you have?
7.
So between the two of you, there are 7 children.
Yes.
You can't tell me that you don't have buku responsibility with those 7 kids.
Brother.
Like football games or ballet, do you do ballet?
I quit a few years ago myself.
Well,
yeah.
I heard you had retired from...
It's the outfits. I couldn't handle what they make you wear.
Well, then the fact Strand wouldn't let you back in.
We've had a week this week with a lot of things going on, and we've been talking about acceptance and all those things this week. And at the end of the day, there's somebody way bigger than me. And I've trusted him on this journey this whole way. And I still trust him today. And I might kick rocks, and I might go out there and cuss for a minute, and I might do a lot of things. But I don't forget who's in control of it and who's not. And is my attitude always stellar when things are going wrong or going what I think is going wrong? Not necessarily. It is most of the time. I keep a pretty level head on things. But sometimes you go, enough's a damn enough, all at once here. I'm getting my ass whipped, and I don't like getting my tail whipped. But, I have seen it too many times in 6 years. Normally when it's a big struggle, that's because a big gain's coming. And you're going to turn that corner. But what'd you do when the struggle was happening? What happened then? And like you said, man, sometimes God has a sponsee call you on the side of the road and go, hey man, I need you, wiring in off somebody else's Wi-Fi. They're good at that, man. They can get on like Sputnik satellites. My phone will say, call from Mars, and I'm like, what?
If I'm not mistaken, he was under a house somewhere.
That's
really
perfectly normal.
And perfectly, yeah.
Wired into someone's home phone.
Hang out under someone's house and get on there. Apparently, they don't have a access code or something. I don't know. But what are the chances? Because that is just, and I don't know what would have happened had he not called. I probably would have been able to suck it up, but I don't have to worry about that. He called, right? And so we got that worked through by me spending time with another alcoholic. And a lot of these obstacles we just have to want to overcome those obstacles.
Sure.
I was leaving here the last time the studio here is on a road called Swan Lake Road. It sounds special, but it's
should
really
be called Deer Hit Your Car Road.
dead Possum Road.
There are deer all over this highway. Dead.
A large collection of possum, armadillo, and raccoon up and down these roads. And every once in a while, something I don't even recognize. Right?
Oh, there's everything.
And somehow Jill's free-range chickens never leave the yard.
No.
But I was leaving here, and they have extended this road. And if you're not careful, you will pass where you're going.
You'll go out to where Matt lives.
And I passed it, and I was thinking, it was dark outside, just as it is now. And I was thinking, well, none of this looks familiar. Crap, I passed the road, right? Second, third time I've done it. So no cars coming anywhere, right? I'm going to turn around right here, and front of my car goes off in a ditch. Boom, hits the bottom of the ditch, crushes the front end. You can hear it, right? And luckily that thing, I guess it's four-wheel drive, you know? So I throw it in reverse, and I back right out of there, you know? And I go somewhere where there's enough light to look at the damage, and it's minimal. It's a minimal damage from the outside. When I tore it apart back at the house, you know, me and my son the other night, there's a lot of damage, but you just can't see it. But, you know, then think about it now, Matt. I'm 3 hours from home. I'm in a ditch. Car's crushed. I could have just got all beat up, been out of shape. Like, oh, my goodness, what am I going to do? Oh, Lord. Instead, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to get home first. That's my priority. And then, you know, hopefully the front end don't fly off this thing between here and Dallas, Texas. And then I'll park the car, and tomorrow, whenever it's daylight, I'll see what the damage is and see what I can do. And I've since pretty much repaired the damage myself. It's pretty much done, you know, and no harm, no foul, right? But I could have let that become an obstacle had I wanted to, but I didn't. I just got to keep on trucking.
We've had all kind of stuff this week, and I'll tell one just kind of renews your faith in things. And why I laugh going in the store, she sent me a photo, whatever, by text of a bill of something that we've had coming up that we do a couple times a year. $1,900, right? After this whole week with other issues going on, and no more than she sent me that text. $1,900 is the amount of it. No more than she sent me that text. Someone that I do a lot of work for text me an approval on a job. Do you know how much the job was? $1,900.
Wow.
I'm not going to make one more dollar more, but I'm going to get that bill paid.
Are you still a hitman? Is that what you do?
I don't want to get into it, Mike. I can't, you know, I kind of keep that.
You're trained assassin over here.
But man, how, you know, that job's been out there for 3 weeks, and within an hour, hey man, can you catch that? We're good to go on it. And I went, yep. Sure will. And Lacey and I were talking before we came over here, and I said, hey, man, they sell cars every day. If one breaks down, we can go buy another one. Roof over our head, food, all those things, lights are on. But everybody's healthy.
You look at life totally different whenever you have some recovery.
And almost the more frustrating it gets, the more I back down and go, oh, well, my lights are on. You know, it could be, the car could be on fire in the driveway, and I'm going to go, well, I'm going to go sit inside and watch it burn through the window with my lights on. You know, I'm grateful for that. So,
yeah, I've
just seen God stepped in as things were going, and it's never hey, I'm just going to wash all this mess away. It's, you keep working at it, and you look up and go, oh, okay, I got it handled. You know? And
by the way, he has stepped in for more than just me and Matt.
Oh, absolutely.
There are several folks out there that I have seen that, you know, they think that there's an obstacle in their way, and they don't know how they're either going to go to meetings or make it to a step or whatever. And there's a way, and it gets worked out. If you just have that willingness to say, hey, maybe, just maybe, I'm not in charge of this. Let me step back a minute. But first, I'm going to go to a meeting, right?
Sure.
So how about a couple analytics?
Hit it.
You know, some analytics. Do you have the YouTube analytics pulled up?
I can get them.
Okay. Well, while you're doing that, so in the last 30 days, Matt, we have had 169 streams.
Okay.
Now, that's not like streams you see in a urinal and at the men's room. This is 169 people have listened to our show in the last 30 days.
I used to go in those bars where the sink counted as a urinal. If the urinal was full, they just use the sink, you know.
I thought it still did.
Classy. Mike, they frown on that down there at the restaurant.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Not at the one you were talking about earlier. 165 Spotify followers. Guys, if you're listening to this, please hit follow. You know, we're not going to make any money off of it. I promise you that. But I would love to see as many followers as we can get. But it was like 117 the last time I made a ditch effort to get some, and we've added 2 in the last 30 days, so that's pretty good. But our total plays is 8,496. Wow. And that's an average of 64 per episode. And if you look back, you'll you'll hear, where we had said, oh man, I remember it was like 1,000, and we were like, whoa, now it's 8,496. And of course, I've already said about the new the new countries that we have. And we're on Spotify. 41.1% of our episodes are listened to still on Spotify. Apple Podcasts, 38.2. People listen 14.4 on their web browser. iHeartRadio, it pulled in with 2.1.
Okay.
Podbean is 2.1, and then other is another 2.1. So, pretty cool. I'm going to run through these countries one more time. We haven't done it in a while. So we got the United Kingdom, Singapore, Ireland, Canada, Germany, South Africa, Switzerland, Taiwan, St. Lucia, Kenya, Russia, New Zealand, Ukraine, Australia, Denmark, Bulgaria, Lesotho, Turks and Caicos, the Philippines, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Colombia, the Netherlands, Mexico, India, El Salvador, and Italy. That is a ton of countries.
Yeah.
That is just absolutely amazing to me anyway.
And you know what? We don't, and I'm using quotes here. By the way, YouTube, we loaded everything to YouTube. Mike did, and his daughter. About a month ago, we loaded all our episodes on YouTube at one time. So we already have 1,800 views on YouTube on all those episodes combined, and the last all the 90s episodes in the 90s are really doing well, and people are listening, and it's really cool, man, to see. I was thinking about it the other night, eating at Monzon's, about us doing the ordering food and doing 2 or 3 in a row, at night over there. But and it's good to go back and listen to those early episodes. But I will say this, and this is totally has nothing to do with analytics, but, and I don't know if I should do it or not. I don't know if it would be, I don't think it would break an anonymity or a tradition. You can probably tell me. Lacey likes to go to these flea markets, junk places, that kind of stuff. I would rather be attacked by, bunch of badgers or something. I don't know.
Oh, a whole family of badgers.
Yeah, you could if she was like
Ernest Goes to Camp.
Ernest is a great American, okay, and one of my favorite people of all time. He said, "Oh, look, a family of badgers," and they tore his ass up. He had me when he looked in that commode at Ernest Goes to Camp. Right off the bat, he looked down with his plunger and went, "Oh yeah," and he made that face. I was like, "This is my guy." So, but. She's walking around looking at all this stuff the other day, and we're in this place, man, old junky place, and the guy had some books over there, and so I'm just like standing there thinking about getting eaten alive by badgers, and I look down at the books, and there's 2 Alcoholics Anonymous books and a 12 and 12 in all these books, just random, but they're together. There's 3 of them. I was like, huh. I said, what do you want for these books? And the guy goes, you can have them. I can't read anyway. That's what he told me. And I said, I don't mind paying you for them. And he goes, no, you can have them, man. And so I told him, I said, I go to a place we use these books. And he goes, dude, if it'll help somebody, just take them with you. And I said, I'll take them up there and donate them. Somebody can, if they need one, they can have one. But I was sitting in the car and I flipped open one of the books. And this young lady had written her full name in it with her email address. But she had about 9 sobriety dates written in and crossed out.
Yeah.
And that just kind of, man, I don't know. It just kind of hit me. And I was like, I wonder if she's sober now, or is this book in the junk thing for a reason? And I wonder, should I email her, at that email and just say, hey, I got your big book. I don't know if that's breaking a.
Send her a link to the podcast. No, that's not breaking anything.
I'd like to get her on here and talk to her, but
if we can find her.
She dang sure tried hard, because I'm gonna tell you, it was 6 to 8 months in between each one of them for 4 or 5 years, and it was just she'd cross them out and there'd be a new one, and but I just thought, man, what a battle, and then how'd this book wind up in here? But
you never know, man. She may have been sober since that last sobriety date, and that book was given to a sponsee and eventually we don't know. We just don't have any way of knowing.
And good on that old man for throwing those in when he found out what we were doing with them. He said, "Man, take them if there's any more in there. Take them," and it was pretty cool.
And you didn't get eaten by badgers.
No, but I was hoping. And Lacey did tell me I was on my best behavior the entire day.
Now you got to watch out for honey badgers.
Look. I told her, I was like, they ain't but so much of this crap I can look at, and just I can't take it after a while. You know, I don't know.
One day I'll tell my story about I was attacked by a herd of armadillos, and I deserved it. You know, and I don't know if that's the correct. I don't know if armadillos come in a herd, but there was a whole bunch of them, like a whole pack, and it was a I learned my lesson. You know, don't do that ever again.
I got drunk in Mississippi and jumped on the back of a miniature Shetland pony, and that thing was mean as hell. And it was in like a construction yard, and they had it pinned up. And another guy I was drinking with dared me to do it. Well, this thing ain't but like 2 foot off the ground. I'm like, man, I can beat this horse up if I had to, you know? Wrong. Dude, he ran so fast that I was hanging on for dear life and ran under an arm of a backhoe, you know, that digs. They had it set on the ground and scraped me off on that piece of metal. And I laid there just contemplating life. And I was like, this little short horse just kicked my tail.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they're strong.
And mean. Yeah. Real mean. Yeah. So he was trying to bite me, dude. I didn't even know a horse bit until that day.
Well, I had a friend of mine down in Mandeville, actually, went to a petting zoo with her granddaughter, or grandchildren. I think she was with her grandchildren anyway. And got bit by, I want to say, either a goat or a donkey, and it got infected. Man, it was a pretty bad deal. You know, could have lost a limb or at least a digit.
Yeah.
So, but Matt, that's about our take on this, and I want to say it one more time. Thank you, Larry and Judy, for sending that beautiful letter to us. And maybe we can give you a call if we can schedule something whenever we're doing our 100th episode, just to talk to you guys. And then congratulations again to my son, Wyatt, on his 7 years. It has been an amazing 7 years, and I was proud of him before, and I'm proud of him now. And no matter what, I think I'll probably be proud of him for the rest of my life.
I was in there this morning in the club, and I saw it on the board, and I was like, looky here.
Yeah. So, yeah, I feel bad because he actually texted me and said, today I have 7 years. And I looked over at the calendar sitting to my right at work, and I was like, I'll be damned. I know exactly where I was 7 years ago at this moment. Yeah. I know where I was.
There was a lot of people in uniform.
But I tell you what, man, it has been an amazing. I don't know if I'm probably more excited about it than him. And I know his mother is. And, of course, his son has never seen him in any other way but sober. And who knows? Maybe he won't ever see him any other way but sober. But he is a hell of a dad, and he's a hell of a son. And I really I love him to death. So
you guys, everybody out there, this whole thing, and we were talking about followers and analytics and all that stuff. And Mike's brainchild with this thing was, we want people that are trying to get this figured out to have a resource. And if you keep listening to this thing, that's what you're going to keep hearing over and over again. It gets rough at the start. It don't ever start pretty, you know. But all these folks that come in here and talk, and they take their time to do it, listen to the progression. It gets better if you hang with it. And that's all we're trying to spread this message of, is just keep hanging in there, and it will get better.
It will. It absolutely will. And even in bad times, Matt, I haven't had a day that compares to some of my best days when I was drinking. So, but guys, that's enough of us. I'm probably not going to have much time to edit this thing because I've got to get it out Sunday morning, and this is Friday night. So if the editing's bad, we know.
Blame it on Jill.
Blame it on Jill. That's absolutely right. So, but we've been at Rule 62 Studios, and we have been in Bossier City, Louisiana, and we're always going to be the Grouch and the Brainstorm.